Hey guys, welcome back to the movie summary. Beginning of the movie, we see a boy named Richard. He goes to have dinner with his stepsister Natalie. Natalie is very sad. Because recently she broke up with her boyfriend. Then Richard takes her to a restaurant. There they both talk for a long time. Natalie loves talking to Richard. So she forgets her pain. That night Natalie thanks Richard. Because she forgot the pain of her breakup. She immediately kisses Richard. Soon she realizes her mistake and walks away. Then she apologizes to Richard and leaves. Richard has feelings for Natalie after Natalie kisses him. He likes her. However, Richard does not move closely with Natalie. Now we see the scene 2 years later. Richard is going to another city for his work. Natalie comes to the station to give him a send-off. Natalie calls Richard after he leaves. There he spends private time with his secretary. Knowing this, Natalie hangs up the phone immediately. A few years pass like this. Now Natalie married to a man named Sinclair. One day she calls Richard and invites him for lunch. Also says you can meet my husband too. Actually, Richard could not come to Natalie's marriage. Since then he has not met Natalie's husband. Next day Richard goes to Natalie's house. Richard is shocked to see the Sinclair house. The house is very big and beautiful. Richard didn't know that Sinclair was very rich. Sinclair and all his family members welcomes Richard. Later they all have lunch. Sinclair and Richard talk after lunch. Actually today is Natalie's birthday. Richard forgot her birthday. Richard stares at Natalie as she cuts the cake. Even after all these years, Richard still has feelings for Natalie. He likes her very much. Next day Richard is working in his office. Then Natalie comes there with her husband. Natalie tells Richard that I have something important to talk to you. So I will come to your house for that. Richard says okay. That evening Natalie comes to Richard's house. Richard gets angry with her for being late. She apologizes to him for that. Then she kisses him and walks away. She feels that she is doing wrong again. After a while she lost control close to him again. Later they both spend private time together. Before Natalie goes home she says forget what happened between us today with Richard. She tells Richard that we should not do this from today. Then she leaves from there. In the next scene Sinclair and Richard are talking. Sinclair says I'm going on a vacation with family soon. He invites Richard that you can come with us too. He says okay to that. Richard goes on vacation with them. There he takes pictures of only Natalie. Natalie notices this and leaves from there. Richard also follows her. Actually, Natalie tells Richard not to come on vacation. Because she feels very regretful about what happened between them. After coming home he talks to Natalie about that night. Then she tells Richard that you shouldn't talk about such things here. For that we have to go to another private place. Sinclair parents went on vacation. We will meet later at their house. That night Natalie lies Sinclair that I had work. So I have to go to another city for a few days. Sinclair says okay to that. Later, Natalie and Richard go to Sinclair's parents' house. There they just think let's talk. But they can't control their feelings and they both spend private time again. Besides, she used to call Sinclair to know his well-being. Because Natalie doesn't want Sinclair to be suspicious on her. A few days pass like this. One day Sinclair has a problem in the kitchen. So he calls the hotel that Natalie's staying. Then he realizes that Natalie is not staying at that hotel, she lied to him. Sinclair wants to talk to her somehow. So he calls all the hotels in the city. He will know that Natalie is not in any hotel. Then he suspects that Natalie is having an affair with another man. Natalie again feels what they are doing is wrong. So she says we have to stop what we are doing with Richard. Richard's feelings for Natalie have grown too much. So he doesn't listen to what she says. Then she says you make another girlfriend. Later Natalie Sinclair comes home. Sinclair asks how the hotel is with Natalie. For that she says the hotel is very good. Natalie doesn't know that Sinclair knows that she is not actually in the hotel. So she lies to him. On the other hand, Richard starts a relationship with his ex-girlfriend again. He calls Natalie and tells this. Since Sinclair is next to her, she can't say anything and hangs up the call. Next day Natalie cries a lot looking at Richard's photos. Actually she likes Richard a lot. Later Natalie meets Richard at a hotel. She tells him that Sinclair suspected me. Let's stop meeting from now on. But Richard doesn't believe her. Now he loves Natalie very much. But Natalie just gives him a kiss and leaves. A few days pass like this. Richard is thinking about Natalie. He doesn't know what to do and goes to Natalie's house. Then Sinclair says Natalie is not at home. He then takes Richard for boating. Sinclair tells Richard that Natalie is having an affair with someone. Hearing this, Richard says you are thinking wrong, Natalie will not have an affair with anyone. Then Sinclair says once Natalie lied to me that she was going to the hotel. She lies to me and goes to meet someone else. Since you are Natalie's brother, at least you will know who she is having an affair with. Richard says I don't know. Then Sinclair says I made a plan to find out about Natalie's affair. But he won't tell Richard what the plan is. Later they both come home. Natalie has already come home. Natalie tells Richard that I'm going to America with Sinclair. We will stay there. Richard is shocked to hear this. Because he will never meet Natalie again in his life. Later they both meet in a hotel. Natalie says we have to stop all this. For that he cries a lot that you should not go to America. She then consoles him and leaves with Sinclair. Richard is very upset that Natalie is walking away from him. So he commits suicide by taking sleeping tablets. But just then Natalie comes there and saves him. Later she invites Richard to a goodbye party. Richard comes to the party. Richard can't stand seeing Natalie and Sinclair happy there. He follows her. He meets her at a place. He gets angry with her and tells that you used me. You came to me whenever you wanted and spent private time with me. But you never thought about my feelings. I love you so much. But you are leaving me now. After listening all his words, Natalie will also know what her mistake is. She apologizes to him. Also they are going to America for a deal. But it has been cancelled now. So they are not going to America. Hearing this, Richard feels happy. Because Natalie is not going to America. Now we see Sinclair, Richard and Natalie. Actually Sinclair already knows about the affair between Natalie and Richard. Going to America is a lie. Sinclair tells them that this is my plan. Ever since Richard found out that Natalie was going to America, he had behaved strangely. So Sinclair came to know that Natalie had an affair with Richard. Sinclair says stop your affair with them. Natalie and Richard says okay to that. Sinclair forgives them. Actually Sinclair loves Natalie very much. He doesn't want to give her up. Later we see the three of them walking together. This is how this movie ends. I'm working hard to make these videos, it's my humble request to subscribe my channel.